Thank you, Chairman Babin, and thank you for hosting this hearing today. I'm very excited about the panel that's here. I'm very excited about the prospects before our country. In so many cases, what is happening in space today is what's happening in space. It is outpacing, the commercial sector is outpacing what the government has been able to do. And that's very exciting for us to figure out how do we take advantage of what commercial industry is doing. I sit on the Armed Services Committee as well. We've been dealing a lot with the space-based communication architecture. Commercial industry has been providing massive amounts of capacity for our warfighters all over the world. And of course, they've been doing it because we had a need and commercial industry was there to meet that need. They didn't launch satellites because the government asked them to. They launched satellites to make a profit and provide a return for their shareholders. At the end of the day, the Department of Defense said we need that capability, and what's happening now, because of commercial industry, we're getting higher throughput and more capacity than we've ever seen before for our space-based communication architecture, a lot of it provided by commercial that we as a government can take advantage of. So that's an important, I think, analogy to what we're going to talk about today. I would also say that on the NOAA side, we have private companies that are preparing to launch satellites that can do things like GPS radio occultation and hyperspectral sensing. And of course, I read, Dr. Pace, I read your testimony, and you talked about how these technologies, we've been considering commercializing these technologies for a very long time, going back to the 90s, which I did not know before reading your testimony. But now commercial industry is at a point where we as a government can take advantage of these technologies in ways where we haven't before and improve our ability to predict and forecast weather, which is, of course, very important to my district. I come from the 1st District of Oklahoma. This year I've already lost one constituent to a tornado. I've lost constituents in previous years, and I will lose constituents again next year. So taking advantage of these capabilities that have been advanced by the private sector in many ways is critically important to us as a government. I read your testimony, Mr. Schingler, about some of the ways that NASA is already partnering with the private sector. You talked about satellites as a service, and you talked about venture class launch services through the Launch Services Program, ways that we can get things into space more effectively and more cost effective so that we can take advantage of the great things that are happening in commercial industry today. And of course, remote sensing, when you talk about the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, they're taking advantage of the capabilities of the people that are sitting on this panel right now. And they're doing it because they know that the direction you are going, you're going much more rapidly than they can go themselves. And to understand that, the idea that we can get higher resolution imagery that can provide mensurated coordinates, the idea that we can have more rapid revisit times and even motion pictures, these are capabilities now that the commercial sector is providing that we as a government absolutely must figure out how to take advantage of. Your capabilities are impressive. We need to learn what you're able to do. We need to figure out as a country, as we go forward, you know, there is a lot of talk about what is a global public good, what is a public good. There's a lot of talk about if it is a public good, how do you as a private company protect your proprietary data that you rely on to actually provide a return on investment. These are challenging issues that this panel and other panels are going to have to work through. I want to be really clear when it comes to the Earth Sciences Division at NASA, the Science Mission Directorate. This is an agency that has been very effective in doing important work on behalf of my constituents. They are teaching us more about the Earth so that we can protect our constituents from weather, and of course the things that they have done have done just that. So. Chairman Babin, thank you for having this hearing, and to our panelists, thank you for being here. I'm very much looking forward to this testimony.
Thank you, Chairman Bridenstine.